Hey, what's up everybody, it's Axel, and today I'm going to be talking about the Moritz Dragon. The Moritz Dragon is a single beryllium plated dynamic driver IEM, coming in at around price of $629. This is the first time for me to try anything from this brand, and with that said, let's talk about what comes in the box. Basically, you get this hard pelican-like case, which is very hard on the outside, padded on the inside, very protective. You get a rope for carrying this case. You get around 6 pairs of silicone ear tips in 3 different sizes, and you get a modular cable with 3 detachable terminations, 2.5, 3.5, and 4.4 millimeter, and of course you get the earpieces, which I will get to in a second. Speaking of the cable is soft and is on the light side, even on the thin side as well. You can see here how it looks like. The only issue I had with it is that this cable, for me personally, it tangled easily with me. I mean, I would wrap it, I would leave it on the desk, and as you can see, it kind of tangles sometimes with me. If I come to unwrap it, it's tangle prone. On the bright side of things, this cable has almost no memory. If I lay it flat on the desk, as you can see, it stays flat on the desk, and the chin slider works, and it has no microphonics. So, you know, it ticks all my boxes when it comes to the other stuff. Now, these are the earpieces themselves, and this is how the design looks like. Mine look a bit brownish, but on the official website, you can see that they have this purplish faceplate, you know, with gold highlights. Here it's a bit more brown with very faint purple background faceplates, you know, slightly you can see the color. They're also very, very lightweight. I mean, I weighed them, they weigh exactly 1.8 grams, so these feel very light, and if you focus, they are semi-translucent. You can see even the dynamic driver sitting near the nozzle on both sides. There you go. So being lightweight and having a nozzle diameter of around 6.1 millimeter, you know, makes it a very comfortable experience, along with the thin lightweight cable. These things, you know, makes it very easy for you to wear them. I can wear them for hours. I can never feel them basically, and the noise isolation is above average. Now let's talk about the sound signature. Let's talk about the tuning. The Moritz Dragon has what I would call like maybe a bass to boost Harman-like sound signature. You can think of it as a slightly bass boosted, maybe V-shaped sometimes. It has emphasized bass, it has a forward mid-range, and it has a smooth linear treble response. It's not hard to drive. I would say its power requirements are moderate, but it does scale up with slightly powerful sources. But even, you know, your average dongle is going to power it just fine. Don't worry about it. Let's talk about the bass now, because I think the bass here is the star of the show of the Moritz Dragon. The sub bass is a standout. It's very deep, it has a very strong rumble, it's impactful. The mid bass is very powerful, it's tight controlled, has that fast attack, fast decay, and you know, it's kind of nimble while remaining powerful and having a strong impact at the same time. The rumble is the impressive part for me, especially with bass heavy tracks like Dead Mouse and, you know, so on. When it comes to the texture and detail, I think they're good, but they're not at the level of the rumble and the impact. Like, if I have to rate the qualities of the bass of the Dragon here, I would say the best part is the sub bass rumble, the second best part is the impact, the third part is the texture, and the fourth best part is the detail. Now, when it comes to the mid-range here is very forward, it's very clean, it's very detailed. Vocals and instruments kind of shine here, all right? We get that fantastic clarity that sounds dynamic, that sounds exciting, but we get some upper mid-range emphasis, which could be too much for some people, especially when you talk about rock and metal and if you try to raise the volume. For me, it was like at the edge of my comfort zone. Like, I don't want any more mid-range than that. I'm sensitive to upper mid-range and treble, and with rock and metal could sometimes feel a bit too much to me, but with anything else, even with a lot of genres of rock and metal, a lot of tracks, it felt just fine. But, you know, it just at that edge, which, you know, this will depend on how sensitive you are. Like, this, to me, this is very similar to any IEM that has a Harman upper mid-range. It's right at that comfort level. Another thing that I noticed, it shines when I'm listening to, for example, acoustic tracks, you know, vocal acoustic tracks, where you get the vocals that, you know, they shine male or female vocals, and you get the acoustic guitars, and you get that instrumental clarity, you get the depth of the acoustic guitars, you get the drum kicks, you get the weight, you get the proper note weight, you get the richness at the same time. I like that a lot. Male and female vocals sound fantastic. Female vocals especially sound extended and accurate, let's say, and the timbre was something that, you know, I enjoyed listening to as well. When it comes to the treble, here it's a bit smooth, it's very natural. Like, you look at the graph, you don't expect that, you know, like most of the time you look at the graph and you kind of guess if an IEM is using a single dynamic driver, but not here. Here the treble is very smooth. I would describe it as very natural, neutral sounding, non-fatiguing. It's not exactly something that has a lot of air and sparkle, and for some people who will listen to this, they will think the upper treble doesn't have that extra air, that extra sparkle, that, you know, the sizzle that makes things a bit enjoyable, but maybe not that accurate. And I agree with that. And this is something I wish was there, you know, some upper air extension, you know, some sparkle, some space. But what is there, I would say it's smooth, natural sounding, non-fatiguing, and this makes it nice for long listening sessions. Now, when it comes to the detail, I want to talk about that. Now, here is something that, in my opinion, I felt the Moritz Dragon didn't exactly wow me, you know, in that department. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's very detailed. This is a detailed IEM, but if you compare it to other IEMs that are in a similar price range, they kind of shine here more. Like, for example, I would say the Duno DK301BD, the Sennheiser IE600, the Elysian Pilgrim, all these IEMs are a bit more detailed. Instead of me just, you know, ranting about the level of detail, let me bring up the technical scale to explain this fact better. And I will say the Moritz Dragon lands, let's say 80% between the Truth Ear Nova and the Elysian Pilgrim. Soundstage, average width, you know, good, nothing stands out really, and the depth is not that impressive, and the imaging is good, precise, the spatial cues, the localization for the cues are there, but again, it's nothing that stood out to me personally, makes me want to talk about it. I would say overall, I'll say they're good. Let's start with the comparison segment. This is the Sennheiser IE600. It's another single dynamic driver that comes in at a similar price range or so. When it comes to the tuning, I think the differences are clear, even not only the tuning, the qualities of the sound. The IE600 here goes for a more V-shaped sound. It delivers stronger sub-bass response and even a stronger mid-bass impact and physicality. It has that visceral, powerful, impactful bass. And even when you listen to it, the decay is longer, so it kind of like, you know, gives you an impression. The bass grabs your attention, you're getting that strength and that impact, and even the texture is a bit better, and the rumble of the sub-bass is harder. When it comes to the mid-range, I feel the Moritz Dragon here impresses me more because it has just a, you know, better, let's say, mid-range clarity, better vocal presence, better instrumental forwardness. But when it comes to the treble, I don't have a preference. Like for me, I will say the IE600 has a more emphasized treble, right? But still also, while being emphasized, and maybe sometimes even too much, but still has that element of air and has a bit more detail and has some noticeable qualities, and even that treble improves the imaging which you get, and even the stage on the IE600. But when it comes to the Dragon, I have to say it does sound smooth, and while it doesn't have the same air and the same detail of the treble as the IE600, I still felt that it's smooth enough, natural enough, non-fatiguing, that it makes me want to listen to it and enjoy it for a long time. In terms of the detail, I would give it to the IE600. I feel that treble boost gives it a bit more of an edge there when it comes to the detail, and the overall sound I feel is just a bit more detailed. Even the bass has that element of detail to it. Now let's talk about who I recommend the Moritz Dragon to. I have 4 people where I can recommend this to. Number 1 is bass lovers. Here we're getting some bass emphasis, not bass heads, bass lovers, people who like some emphasis on the bass. You like, you know, deep, impactful mid bass, very satisfying rumble in the sub bass, and you know, here the bass of the Moritz Dragon is a standout feature, especially if you like EDM, hip hop, or pop. Number 2 is for people who are vocal lovers or people who like mid range. Here you get a detailed forward mid range, and I think this is something that's great for people who like to, you know, get a lot of vocal clarity and natural timbre in their music, people who like to listen to acoustic tracks, vocal-centric tracks, you know, this is nice. Even instrumental music, it shines here. People who like the comfort, people like lightweight IEMs with good noise isolation, this is an option here. And number 4 is people who like a non-fatiguing smooth treble. They don't want that sparkle and brightness, you know, in the sound. They want something safe. People who are treble sensitive want something smooth and enjoyable. I think you're going to find it here and can listen for hours. Who I don't recommend this to: number 1, people who want that element of air, you know, people who like extended treble for that extra detail, extra sizzle, extra energy, extra sparkle and shimmer. You will not find it here. Like, there will be other IEMs, for example, just the Elysian Pilgrim, the Duno DK301BD, and even the Duno SA6 Mark II, and even the Sennheiser i600. All these IEMs have an element of airy, extended treble, spacious, a bit more detailed, has that sparkle and shimmer going on to it. Number 2, people who want good large soundstage. While here I describe it as good and average, I just think about it off the top of my head. The IE600, the C6 Mark II, these are IEMs that come in at the same price range or similar and give you that element of space and stage in your music. Number 3, I will say people who prioritize technicalities and detail. Now, this has good or even great level of technical performance, right? It has a lot of good quality detailed retrieval and separation. But if you are looking for something that will be, you know, top tier in its price bracket, I think there will be other options that give you a bit more detail and separation and layering even. And number 4, I will say I don't recommend it for people who are sensitive to upper mid-range. The upper mid-range here could feel intense sometimes if you are sensitive to that elevated upper mid-range, especially if you listen to rock and metal. Again, this will depend on your ears, not just rock and metal. Maybe for me it's with rock and metal, maybe for you it will not be fatiguing at all, or it will not be, you know, intense at all. Let's go ahead now and give this a final rating, and I will give the Moritz Dragon a rating of 3.5 stars. That's a good solid all-rounder IEM. I don't think anyone will listen to the Moritz Dragon and say it sounds bad. I think it sounds awesome. But again, it's getting very competitive nowadays, and I feel it sounds good. You know, that's my review. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. If you have any question, leave it down below. Please like and subscribe if you like my content. And until next time, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.